I want to tell you the story of how I made over $11,000 selling just one WordPress plugin that I created. So in 2015, I coded a WordPress plugin that continues to generate mostly passive income for me every single month. I say mostly passive income because sometimes I have to answer a few emails, and occasionally I need to release an update with bug fixes, but it's not much. I named my plugin exactly what it does: Auto Featured Image from Title. I originally created this plugin just because I wanted it. I wanted a plugin that would automatically create an image for me that I could use as the featured image for a blog post, based completely on the title of the blog post. So, for example, if you title your blog post hamburger, it should find an image of a hamburger and set it as the featured image. Or if you title the blog post apple, it should find an image of an apple and set that as the featured image. But you might not always get the image that you had in mind. While there were a couple plugins that did something similar at the time, none of them quite gave me the customization or the automation that I wanted. So I made it myself. At first, I just released it for free on WordPress.org, and I thought it was pretty cool that a few hundred people downloaded it within the first couple months. And I thought it was even cooler how someone contacted me willing to pay me for an even more customizable version. We quickly worked out a deal so that I could also release this version as a pro version of the plugin, which I sold on my website. And from there, the plugin grew and sales started rolling in until today, at which point I've made over $11,000 in sales. Now, $11,000 over the last 7 years might not sound like a lot, and of course, in some ways it's not. But you've got to remember a couple things. One, I made this plugin primarily for me. So while I definitely had to work to code it, most of the time that I put into it, I would have done anyway for my own personal benefit. But two, now that the plugin is done, all the revenue it continues to generate is just about as passive income as you can possibly get. So here's what I learned from the process. There's definitely money in coding. When I was 14 years old, I started learning how to code because I thought I might want to be a web designer. And while I have designed a few websites over the years here and there, some even for clients, I never made a significant amount of money from it. But I'd say $11,000 is fairly significant, even if it was spread out over the last few years. Something else I learned was that you really ought to be passionate about what you're doing if you want it to be sustainable. When I first started working on this plugin, I was passionate about it. I worked on it for hours a day, hours upon hours, spending basically all of my free time on it to get it just the way that I wanted it. And once I got it to that point, I was happy. And then when others asked for various other features, being willing to pay me for it, I happily obliged. But eventually, it became a chore. So I basically stopped developing it at all at this point, except for the occasional bug fix here and there, because I'm just not passionate about it. But hey, I'll still take the passive income. One more thing, I coded one plugin and it's generated $11,000 for me so far. But imagine if you coded 5 plugins or even 50 plugins. If you know how to code and you're passionate about it, this could be a serious source of income for you. And this really applies to all kinds of digital products. If you can make one and sell it over and over again, then you could also make 50 and sell them over and over again. So, if you're thinking about creating a digital product, whether a plugin for WordPress or a piece of software, just make sure it's something that you'll enjoy working on for the long term, and it's not something you'll eventually get bored of like I did. Because there's definitely a market for these kinds of things, which means there's definitely money to be made. And hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. I'm just an average guy.